Welcome to another episode of Saturday Storytime with Kevin and Ty. Today, we're going to be reading you The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. This is one of our favorite books. I know it's Ty's favorite. So, Little Prince. Just going to dive right in. It's a beautiful classic. Written pretty simply. A child can read it. But it's like a Disney movie where there's a lot of deep meanings, where adults, children, everyone can enjoy. So I would like to share with you near the beginning of the book when the little prince kind of leaves his own planet and he ventures and visits all these other planets along the way. And each planet he visits, it's a different representation of a personality that society values and society trains someone to become. So this book's written it was first published in 1943, so it's been almost like 100 years ago, 80 years. But you can still see a lot of resemblance in some of the values and our culture and kind of the personas that get created because of it. Chapter 10. He found himself in the neighborhood of the asteroids 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330, so he started by visiting them to look for an occupation and to add to his knowledge. The first one was inhabited by a king. Clad in purple and ermine, he was seated on a throne both simple and majestic. I love this book, there's illustrations. So here is the king. "Ah, here comes a subject," exclaimed the king when he spied the little prince. And the little prince wondered to himself, "How can he recognize me, since he has never seen me before?" He did not know that for kings the world is greatly simplified. To them, all men are subjects. "Come a little closer so that I may see you better," said the king, inordinately proud of having someone to be king over at last. The little prince looked around to find a place to sit down, but the entire planet was covered by the magnificent ermine robe. So he remained standing, and since he was tired, he yawned. Yawn. "It is contrary to etiquette to yawn in the presence of a king," said the monarch. "I forbid it." "I cannot help it," replied the little prince in confusion. "I have come on a long journey, and I haven't slept at all." "In which case," said the king, "I order you to yawn. I have not seen anyone yawn for years. Yawns are a curiosity to me. Come on now, yawn again. It is an order." "You are frightening me. I cannot yawn any more," said the little prince, blushing. "Hum, hum," replied the king. "Then I order you to sometimes yawn and sometimes to—" He spluttered a bit and seemed vexed, for the king attached considerably importance to his authority being respected. He tolerated no disobedience. He was an absolute monarch. But as he was very kind, he gave reasonable orders. "If I ordered a general," he would say, "if I ordered a general to change himself into a seabird, and if the general did not obey, it wouldn't be the general's fault. It would be my fault for ordering him to do the impossible." "May I sit down?" asked the little prince shyly. "I order you to sit down," replied the king, majestically gathering a fold of his ermine robe around him. But the little prince was puzzled. The planet was tiny. Over what could this king really rule? "Sire," he began, "please excuse me asking you a question." "I order you to question me," the king was quick to reply. "Sire, over what do you rule?" "Over everything," replied the king very simply. "Over everything?" The king made a sweeping gesture, taking in his own planet, the other planets, and the stars. "Over all that, said the little prince, over all that. For he was not only an absolute monarch, but a universal one. And the stars obey? Of course, said the king. They obey immediately. I did not tolerate insubordination. The little prince marveled at such power. Had he possessed it, he could have watched not 44, but 72 or even 100 or 200 sunsets in one day in the same day, without ever having to move his chair. And so he was feeling rather sad, remembering his small abandoned planet. He plucked up the courage to ask the king a favor. I should like to see a sunset, please. Do me that kindness. Order the sun to set. If I were to order a general to fly from one flower to another like a butterfly, or to write a tragedy, or to change himself into a seabird, and if the general did not carry out the order, which one of us would be at fault? It would be you, said the little prince firmly. Exactly. One must demand of each and every one what he or she is capable of. Authority is first and foremost based on reason. If you order your people to throw themselves into the sea, you will have a revolution on your hands. I have the right to demand obedience, because my orders are reasonable ones. What about my sunset? Said the little prince, reminded him, for he never forgot a question once he had asked it. You shall have your sunset. I shall demand it. But in accordance with scientific government, I shall wait until conditions are favorable. And when will that be? Said the little prince. Hum, replied the king, consulting his big calendar. Hum. It will be it will be this evening about 20 minutes to 8, and you shall see how well I am obeyed. The little prince yawned. He regretted having to miss the sunset, but he was becoming a little bored. I have nothing more to do here, he said to the king, so I'll be on my way. Don't leave, said the king, who was proud of having a subject. I'll make you a minister. A minister of what? Of justice. But there is nobody here to judge. We do not know that, said the king. I haven't yet made a complete tour of my kingdom. I am very old, and walking makes me very tired. But there is no room here for a carriage. Oh, but I have already looked, said the little prince, bending down to give one more glance to the other side of the planet, just to be sure. They're on an asteroid, so the asteroid that they're on is very tiny. They can literally bend over and have a glance across the planet. Then you shall judge yourself, answered the king. This is the most difficult thing of all. It is far more difficult to judge oneself than to judge others. If you succeed in judging yourself rightly, then indeed you are very wise. As far as I'm concerned, said the little prince, I can judge myself anywhere. I do not have to live here. Hum, said the king. I believe that somewhere on my planet there is an old rat. I can hear him at night. You can judge that old rat. You will condemn him to death from time to time. Thus his life will depend on your justice. But on each occasion you will spare him so as to keep him alive. He is the only one we have. I, replied the little prince, do not like to condemn anything to death, and I think I'll be on my way. No, said the king. The little prince, having completed his preparations, had no wish to hurt the feelings of the old monarch. If your majesty wishes to be promptly obeyed, you should give me a reasonable order. You could, for example, order me to be gone in less than a minute. It seems to me that conditions are favorable. As the king said nothing, the little prince hesitated a moment and then, with a sigh, took his leave. I make you my ambassador, the king called after him in haste. He had a magnificent air of authority. Grown-ups are very strange, said the little prince to himself, continuing on his journey. I think we have time to share one more planet the king or the prince ventures on. He ventures 4 different planets. So he kind of meets a king. He meets a jaded person. He meets a drunkard. And he meets a businessman. Ty, who do you want to share? Mm, 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 mm. I think Ty wants to share the conceited one, the the jaded person. And if you really enjoy us reading Little Prince, leave a like and leave a comment. So we know which kind of books you enjoy, and we will go back to this book and we'll share with you the two other asteroids. Chapter 11. The second planet was inhabited by a conceited individual. Aha! Here comes an admirer, he exclaimed, as from afar he caught sight of the Little Prince. For conceited men see all other men as admirers. Good morning, said the Little Prince. You are wearing a funny kind of hat. It's a hat for salutes, the conceited man replied, to raise when people acclaim me. Unfortunately, nobody ever comes this way. Indeed, said the Little Prince, who did not understand what the conceited man was talking about. Oh yeah, you want to see a picture of the conceited man? Here he is. And then it's in this funny looking hat. The Little Prince clapped his hands. Clap, clap, clap. The conceited man raised his hat in modest salute. This is more fun than my visit to the king, the Little Prince said to himself, and he tried clapping his hands again. The conceited man once again raised his hat in salute. After 5 minutes of this exercise, the Little Prince grew tired of the monotony of the game. And to make you lower your hat, what should one do? He asked. But the conceited man didn't hear him. Conceited men only hear praise. Do you really admire me very much? He asked the Little Prince. What does admire mean? To admire means that you consider me the handsomest, the best dressed, the richest, and the most intelligent man on this planet. And kind of in context, in our times, the man or the woman, the person with the most likes on Instagram, the most followers, the most popular on TikTok and social media. But you are all alone on your planet. Do me this kindness, admire me all the same. I admire you, said the Little Prince with a slight shrug of his shoulders, but why should that mean so much to you? And the Little Prince went away. Grown-ups really are very odd, he said to himself as he continued on his journey. Let me take a check on what time it is. Yes. Well, we'll hold it there for today. Really appreciate you taking the time to spend with Ty and I to come and read with us today. We really, 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 really appreciate you. If you enjoyed today's book, leave a like, give us a heart, and give us a comment if you appreciated hearing Little Prince. And leave us a comment if the conceited man or the king maybe reminded you of someone or something that society today kind of pushes, and how it can be kind of detrimental and kind of, as the Little Prince said, boring. So we'll catch you next Saturday on another episode of Saturday Storytime. Take care. Bye.